Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the third Ace and Ektar Heroes of the Storm casting podcast of the season. I am still Ektar, and he is still Ace. And Ace, what are we doing? We've drifted away from A East.
Yeah, we decided that maybe we shouldn't spend 100% of our time sitting in our own division again. We do need to get out and do some other things every once in a while, leave the bubble of the meta that is A East. And so today, we've moved to where we used to be B East. I mean, we can only go so far.
Our old stomping grounds. That is right. We're going to be casting Heavy Slaps versus Citrus-Colored Squash. Made up of a lot of names that I recognize from having been around, but haven't necessarily played versus a ton, at least not particularly recently.
We did go against Heavy Slaps last season as Durton's Couch, so that was a good series. I think we won that because that is a statistical likelihood.
Yes.
But I have not seen citrus-colored squash before. I recognize some of the people, such as Ace, but otherwise, not too many people that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, I've definitely know Stoic's name. I don't remember exactly why. I've seen Lamort's name, I've seen Hot Like Summer, I've seen Mazos, and I've seen the other Ace. I just don't know if I've seen them playing, necessarily.
Yeah, that is true. It's been a while, so... Yeah, this is not the first time casted some of these players, but nonetheless. Ektar.
Yo.
Got an important question that everybody wants to know. How did we get here?
Here, being Tomb of the Spider Queen, I presume? Well, we got here because the coin toss was won by Citrus-Colored Squash. They opted for first hero pick. Heavy Slaps banned out Dragonshire, Boo, and Sky Temple, yay. Citrus-Colored Squash banned out BOE and Alterac. And we find ourselves on Tomb of the Spider Queen for map number 1. And we find ourselves at the very start of the very first draft of the very first game that we're casting tonight.
Incredible. It's almost like it's a start. And the very first ban will be Vala.
I think that is quite a good ban. I was mentioning, we were talking before the cast about what we think the teams like to play. Heavy Slaps likes Vala. They kind of play just, like, good heroes, and Vala is a pretty good hero.
Are they the GOATS format of heroes where they just play good stuff?
Ace, I don't think anyone in our audience is going to get that reference.
I don't care.
But yes.
I'm talking to you. The other people are byproducts of it.
Yeah, so if Heavy Slaps is a GOAT standard, then CCS 3 are Royal Magical Library OTK.
Why is that?
Because they have one thing that they do very well, but it's prone to disruption.
Very true, very true. Well, it could just FTK the opponents. We'll have to find out.
Really pushing this metaphor now.
I mean, look, it's fine. There's enough people that maybe will possibly get it. So what are we looking to see? What's the combo that CCS is looking for?
I was stretching things a little bit when I say combo necessarily. What they have shown that they like to do is draft Sylvanas on Uberak. They've played 4 games, they're 2-2 this season. They've drafted Sylvanas in 4 games, and an Uberak in 3 games. So they really like that 2 set of heroes.
Alrighty. Why are there so many predictions for... There it is. There's Storm Stoic picking the Sylv. Is that who plays it every time?
It sure is.
Alrighty.
Actually, one time it was Lamort when Stoic was playing the Junkrat.
Okay. I go ahead and get this prediction started up for game number 1. Gamble your points, all of your heals. If you lose, Ektar will never heal you again, but otherwise you get priority heals.
Ooh, going into the double Terran comp of Blaze Anduin in the Terran skin. I'm allowed to say that. And that's just kind of like what I was saying. Like, they're just good heroes. They do a lot of things really decently well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Now, I know you said one of the teams played aggressive tanks on small maps. Was that CCS?
It was not necessarily CCS.
Okay.
They're certainly not the ones I set it for. CCS have played exactly 2 tanks, 3 Anubrax and a Diablo, a 4th Diablo now. And given that it's Tomb of the Spider Queen, it's not a huge surprise. Definitely the map he's played on with the most popularity.
Is it not Shrines, actually? I remember Shrines being a notorious Diablo map.
You're gonna make me go check hero stats now,
I
aren't you?
am going to make you go check hero stats. I'm so sorry.
Fine, fine, fine.
Named Doppelganger goes ahead and picks up the Hogger as well. Just a solid hero overall. Again, nothing too spicy so far. Garrosh banned out, good ban. And we have to see what we've got. Protoss rule here. Of course, as the casting Zerglings that we are, we cannot. We're not a big fan of Protoss rule, but you know, oh, there we go. We've got some Zerg, we've got Zagara here, and we've got Deathwing picked up as well. That's quite a good pick against the Diablo.
I'm still pulling up stats.
Okay.
So Diablo has been played, rather chosen with 45% popularity on Infernal Shrines, and
There's
on
no way it's higher on Tomb.
Tomb of the Spider Queen, 42.2, so very close actually.
There we go.
But not quite as much. So you were right; he's more popular on Shrines, but Tomb is a very close second. This is triple frontline. Well, it's
Is
three.
it?
It's 2 tanks and a bruiser. It's not. It's probably not actually another frontline on the Deathwing, but he's a chunky boy.
He is a very chunky boy, and only Mephisto has. No, I take that back. Sylph has great damage for a Deathwing.
Yeah, I think these are both really interesting. Although if heavy slaps are able to get into kind of the late game with not a deficit, it's going to be hard for them to contend with the Protoss player controlling the Zerg pieces.
Yep, even with that Protoss portrait there, looking quite strong with that post-16 Zagara.
Alrighty, for the first time tonight, spawning on the left-hand side in the blue trunks, they are heavy slaps, with Of the Soak playing Anubarak, Protoss Rule playing the Zerg, we've got Jaeger playing Blaze, Akari playing Deathwing, and Mazos playing the Anduin.
And on the right side of the map, in the orange trunks, we've got some orange-colored squash, with Unstoppable playing Hogger, Mazos playing Diablo, Lamort playing Mephisto, H2 like Summer on Rhaegar, and Storm Stoic on the Sylvanas.
I'm almost certain it's Hot Like Summer. But that's okay. We'll have to ask if they get
No,
in
I said it's High
the
Templar.
High
We're
Templar
sticking-
like Summer.
Because it's stormy.
That would explain why we have Storm Stoic.
This is going too deep. Taking a look at the level 1 talents, we see no questing talents at all. Soul Shield on Dibbles, and I think fairly normal stuff across the board, including the percent damage build on Mephisto.
I think that is not the most common Diablo, or not Diablo, Deathwing level 1, and the Power Word Shield isn't the most common level 1 for Anduin either, but it's certainly not uncommon by any means.
I believe Molten Blood is the most common for Mage Wing. I'm not certain, but I know it's a popular talent.
Oh, you know, it actually is. I was mixing up that one and the gray one. So no, you're right.
Yeah. We'll see if Akari can drop any kind of CC returns on the Mephisto, since they planned the Deathwing playstyle a lot of having to build up these or wind up the abilities before they go off. The Mephisto's telegraphed E allows that to happen.
Yeah, I went to check bottom lane for a sec, and man, the Bruisers are just pumping numbers into each other. Both the Blaze and the Hog are down at about half hit points, even though we're barely 90 seconds into the game.
This is when the off-lane players after the game come up and they're like, I had top damage. What are y'all doing this game?
Yeah, as both of the Bruisers are just ineffectually pumping damage into each other, but not, like, getting kills or forcing them out of lane. They just, you know, do damage and self-heal and do damage and self-heal.
Yeah, that is
First
true.
big difference in the game, the Bruiser camp being taken much earlier for the citrus-colored squash. Is it squash for plural or squashes? I actually don't know.
I will look that up. This is an important thing to determine.
Yeah. That Bruiser camp will allow them to start pushing into the mid lane just a little bit between Zagara and Deathwing, not even getting to the front wall, barely having the top tower scratched at all. So just a very small XP lead from that camp, and that's all it really ended up getting them for the time being.
So this Google search turned out a little bit more interesting than I expected as both teams build up the gem reserves towards 50, but about 3/4 of the way there. Squash, in more common uses, is squashes. But in specific context, it can also be a collection of squash. So it goes both.
Okay, so it is either plural with S or not. Interesting.
Yes, but more commonly, squashes
That
with
makes
the
sense.
S.
We do have the Bruiser camp getting picked up by Zagara and Anduin. Gonna attempt to apply the same amount of pressure to their contemporaries on the other side. We did have a back from Rhaegar, who is relatively good at clearing out these camps, so not gonna have quite the camp clear that they necessarily want. And we see Heavy Slaps using that to try and get the start of their turn.
Ooh, dive in onto Mezzos on the Diablo is going to be first blood of the game. That Rhaegar back forced out earlier by Heavy Slaps really coming to pay off for them as Rhaegar was unable to deliver critical heals or the purge. So that is first blood and a great catalyst to getting the turn in here for Heavy Slaps.
Yeah, just not quite having the mana conservation to continue to exist in mid lane is going to spell first blood in favor of Heavy Slaps. And that kill is going to lead to them also getting the first turn in.
As these lanes go ahead and get pushed out just a little bit, see if those web weavers can't drop in just a little bit farther. But the kind of middling wave clear of Heavy Slaps is not really going to get those pushed up much.
I would love to see at some point later in the game when Mephisto is feeling nice and comfortable, have Akari just rip an Earthbreaker onto him to catch the return and full engage onto him. I think that could be a really cool play experience. We do have some damage being done in the top lane. We do have black arrows coming out. It doesn't affect the web weaver, but it does affect the rest of the minion wave, trying to reduce the amount of damage that are coming out here from Heavy Slaps.
Yeah, there's only 3 on the defense up here in top. Mephisto going to go ahead and free clear the mid, so top wall goes down, but it doesn't look like too much else will be gained here. So solid defense so far from Heavy Slaps, losing just 2 walls in mid and top.
Diablo is going to pop the Soul Shield, looking to try to engage a little bit onto De La Soak, but doesn't have the buttons to do so, especially not with Lamort still in the mid lane, clearing out that mid web weaver.
No gank's been put into the bottom lane either throughout this game. Jaeger and Ace just go ahead and beating themselves up just as I say that. De La Soak and company go ahead, rotate on down, find a pick onto Ace.
Yeah, I think he caught the startup of the Hog Wild too, so just barely not able to get on out of there. But Lamort, importantly, is going to pick up those gems.
Yeah, it's a big stash there on the Mephisto. Be careful. If you get caught out with those 41, your team will be very sad.
Alright, checking the level 4 and 7 talents. Anything standing out to you particularly, Ace?
Froststorm on the Mephisto, the level 7 is a little unique, I believe. We've got Fire Stomp build from Diablo, which is not uncommon, but it's worth pointing out. And of course, I think Purge is a less commonly taken talent now on Rhaegar, but I'm not certain on that.
I think it got buffed. Or it looks better by comparison because the other talents got nerfed.
Yeah.
It has gained popularity since the heyday of E-Build. But
That's fair.
I do still agree it's not the most commonly chosen talent.
Well, this is an interesting decision. Heavy Slaps actually have 5 people down here in the bottom lane, covering the pickup of the siege camp, while Citrus-colored Squash go ahead and pick up their Bruiser camp, and that leaves Lamort completely open and be able to make a turn-in occur. So this is going to be a chance at a couple turn-ins here as Mezos takes a lot of damage. He's going to get the Light Bomb and Stuns applied. Soul Shield has run out, saved him through all of that. Here comes the Maw as well to try and finish him off. Ancestral does not land in time, just barely lands. Diablo is going to res with 25 souls here for the Webweaver wave, though.
That was a lot of buttons to kill 75% of the Diablo, though.
Yeah, they get the XP for 100%, which is the important part.
They do, and it will buy them some time and space to get the clear on the Webweavers up here. As they think it would be a little difficult for them to have done that without that, and with Diablo sharking around trying to make an engagement happen. But I don't know if it was totally worth it yet.
Yeah, I mean, they maybe CCS can identify that 4 R buttons were used and go ahead and maybe commit a little bit harder to this top lane push. But they do not seem to be opting to do that, as roughly similar damage was dealt as the corresponding first phase for Heavy Slap. So we do have a turn-in available for both teams. I think that's where some differentiation can occur.
Yeah, it's often the second Webweaver that really is the one that ends up getting a lot of value on this map. The first one often gets some front walls, which is kind of what we saw here. The second one is where you start to take forts. And to help try and get that in their favor, we have Zagara and Edwin once again going and taking their Bruiser camp, hopefully to buy them a little bit of space so they can get their own second turn in.
Yeah, but does only seems like what's going to be occurring is both teams approaching level 13s with everybody just kind of spread across the map, vying for space, trying to get turn-ins in both top and bottom, and especially for Heavy Slaps with no single person having a plurality of having a majority or any large chunk of gems. There's really not going to be a whole lot of Protect the President, more of just you have to control the space for a while. As Lamort gets engaged upon, Ancestral and Purge comes out to go ahead and save him for now. Nice job there. Now the Durance comes out, hits for 2. APOC combo lands onto Anduin, and that takes him out. De La Soak going to try and grab some gems and escape Jaeger with a nice jet prop, but is not going to go get De La Soak out, and that's 2 very needed kills for CCS.
Yeah, and that's going to buy a lot of space for especially Lamort to get that 33 turned in. Zagara not quite able to get the interrupt in time, and now they're going to have a much easier time getting the rest of their gems, and since they don't have to force it off of just one person. And speaking of one person, now Mezos or Stoic have the ability to go for that turn-in. Zagara was getting the interrupt with the Roachlings, and Akari is not going to be able to get the stall.
Jaeger was about a half second away from getting the turn-in himself in bottom lane. Very, very close there, but instead Mezos does get that turn-in. So Red Webweavers here for phase number 3 here. And we'll see what can get done here with the Sylvanas, especially.
Yep, Jaeger was able to do a lot of damage to Ace as he caught him under the fort, dealing damage, but is able to hog wild the rest of the way out as the Red Webweavers are coming down. Mesos looking to make a play onto De La Soak, but he missed the QE combo, or EQ combo. He's not going to be able to actually force anything other than that.
Doesn't look like the teams are taking too aggressive of positions or anything like that. Stoic gonna go ahead and just stand in that fire breath to take to turn off those towers, but ends up paying for it with about 80% of that health bar. So that's gonna stymie any aggression from CCS. And you know, you said this one can get forts, but it has failed to do so.
It sure has, and this is a prime opportunity to try and get a counter turn in now. We had a Diablo engage onto Kronos Fool, and a big counter Maw is their follow-up for it. Unfortunately for Heavy Slaps, there really wasn't.
I wonder if the call was just to not do it, or if they weren't feeling confident on it, because I was expecting Anduin to just walk up to it with a light bomb on himself. and then a new Breck burrow in. But instead, they are going to take the safe path, leave most of the ults up for their turn-in phase that's coming up now. And with level 16s, let's see how much they can get done here now that Protoss Rule is going to go ahead and pick up that Corrosive Saliva. And wow, bonus pickup. Really important there for heavy slaps onto the Mephisto.
Sorry for bad observing there. I got distracted. There was just a mote of golden light following the Hogger around. So we watched that instead of Mephisto dying. I hope you don't mind too much, chat. That is the first fort of the game going down in the mid lane. I think Hogger will be able to defend bottom, but as the rest of Heavy Slaps are coming from the top lane, Sylvanas is going to have to extricate themselves, lest they get jumped upon or cocooned themselves.
Hector, I think they did some of that Mephisto Deathwing interaction kind of shenanigan, as the death recap reveals just a bunch of Deathwing damage, plus a Blaze Jet prop for good measure.
Yeah, it's hard to say no to that kind of damage. Big Conflagration coming out, squashing the Mesos, Hot Like Summer, and Lamort. Protoss Rule is very low, is going to get killed there by Mesos and attributed to Stoic, but let's be honest, Diablo got that kill. But a big Belly Roar is going to come out and put Hogger into a pretty rough spot.
Ooh, Hogger's barely going to be able to spin out in time as the aggression is on. The Web Weavers are down, both teams with turn-ins available, but very importantly, CCS with the bonus player on the board.
Yeah, Mesos gonna get most of an interrupt here. He gets the big interrupt onto Jaeger, which is super important. Not getting it onto Akari. Engaging onto Jaeger is going to take about 2/3 of his health in damage before he's able to jet prop the rest of the way on out of there. And for the time being, it looks like CCS have a tenuous control of the game, as Zagara is only just coming up now, and Hogger is going to get that camp pushing through mid.
Yeah, that's an important pickup there, as that'll give them mid lane control, so they will be able to pivot around that lane, either work towards top or bottom. And this is a really cool part of Tomb, is having that mid lane control being so important for being able to control the turn-ins. Dynamic not seen on many other maps.
Almost every other map, it's one of the outer lanes that tends to be the most important, because that's where your bosses are. But even though there is a boss in this lane, during the mid-game, controlling turn-in is even more important.
Wow. And Blue, Heavy Slaps goes ahead and gets the turn-in despite the Bruiser camp that got absolutely evaporated for Red. So that was a nice control of that mid space, as you were mentioning, and now this Web Weaver phase being back-to-back is very, very critical.
Ooh, unfortunately, Jaeger wasn't quite able to get the clear out into top, so the Web Weaver going to spawn relatively far back, and it'll take a while for it to actually get up and start threatening anything real. But the big place we need to pay attention to is this mid lane. We've got the 5-man Heavy Slaps push here. They want to take a keep, and their opponents still have Hogger split out, so it is a 5 versus 4 in the mid lane for the time being.
Yeah, Hogger should be backing after this or something soon, because they will lose the keep. Hogger not really getting a lot done down there besides grabbing the lane of Soap. Is going to come in for the flank if necessary. Nice Will of the Forsaken from the Sylvanas. Go ahead and dodge that. Lamort going to have to need an Ancestral to get top back up as Ace comes in for the flank.
Yeah, and this is what they're really looking for. A big Durance is going to land onto 2+ Deathwing. The Bunker Drop is going to cleanse a lot of that CC and provide some good armor for the team. But that's a huge knockback from Hogger, and that is 2 going down very quickly, and De La Soak is quite low.
Yeah, top keep did go down and all of that. It is low enough that it won't pose a threat to core, so the chase could continue. And with 101 gems, DCS takes control of the map, and in 8 seconds, they want to redeem that control for another Web Weaver phase. But for now, they'll have to settle for the boss.
They can get a boss, and then if they are able to split off Mesos and Unstoppable, they'll be able to get a well-timed boss and turn, pushing through top lane at the same time.
Yeah, they'll need someone else. They'll either need a Stoic or and Ace or somebody else to do it. But instead, they are just going to 5-man up the boss, stagger the waves a little bit. Personally, I've been interested in noting if staggering them is a little bit more effective or not. Just because AoE can really affect the Web Weavers on top of the boss.
I would argue, especially in this case where all the forts are still up, you'd want to get them at the same time to force your opponents to have to respond to one part of the map. and let the rest of the map get pushed out by the web weavers.
Yeah.
Top fort is going to fall very quickly. Red web weaver will spawn all the way at the keep front wall in top lane, but relatively far back in both the other lanes, so going to be a while before they can get anything done, but I think they're still going to end up threatening those forts in a big way.
De La Soak got caught out by the boss tornado and is going to need a pull from Anduin to get him back. No double pull from Anduin, so that is the only one available for this fight as level 20's picked up both sides.
Yeah, and with that level 20, Zagara's ability to hurt things has gone through the roof between the pack tactics and the corrosive saliva. Lamort, however, is going to go very low. Barely gets saved. The not going to have a save button available for Sylvanas. However, Diablo's under threat. He's going to fall, and the members of Citrus Colored Squash are in full retreat.
I don't know what happened to Sylvanas there. Either took the Windrunner incidentally with a pull or something, or committed really hard to it, but she ended up all the way under keep, like physically touching the keep, and that caused huge problems. Nice escape from the rest of CCS, so they will be able to make a decent defense here. This is actually a 4v4 fight with ult advantage to CCS. That's a huge durance. That's going to go for two. Jaeger and Mezos in a bunch of trouble. Hog Wild's going to go ahead, try and finish anybody off, but they don't. Now it's full retreat for Heavy Slap. And they go ahead and make it out.
Yeah, that was almost a huge overcommitment by Heavy Slaps. They chased just a little bit too far, were 4v4 under fort, and very luckily for them, they didn't actually get punished too hard for it, just having to push a couple of buttons, lose out a little bit of map tempo. But now that both teams are 5v5 again, it's still pretty heavily in Heavy Slap's favor, having a substantial building advantage.
Yeah, for sure. Even with the boss and the web weavers, only the top two forts went down. Not even bottom fort taken out. So good pressure here in the top lane for Heavy Slaps. Equalized pressure in mid, and then slight pressure in the bottom lane.
Yeah, so that's why we see the members of CCS in the bot lane right now, trying to get that bottom fort forced in a little bit. They're also the only team with a turn-in available. But good lord, look at those roasterlings go. Ace getting already brought down to under 2/3 from literally just one E button.
Yeah, one basic ability doing 1/3 of an opponent's health is kind of crazy. Now, CCS have not identified this rotation until just then. They're going to try and rotate up, make something happen either on Akari or on the rest of the team. Heavy Slaps are going to see the position, and that means that CCS could be looking at a turn-in, as they're the only one with one available. Heavy Slaps needs another 5 waves to make one happen.
However, look at that. There are 5 catapults in top lane. That needs to be answered. Storm's Stoic is back to heed the call, but oh my god, they could actually lose full shielding on core. Hogger is going to get the knockback, which is going to stop that from happening. Smart of them to send that hero back in particular, but that's just giving so much room for Heavy Slaps to do stuff on the map without contest.
Speaking of things done on the map without contest, every single person minus Ace and I guess Mezos now is going to be able to get the turn-in. Ace has enough for solo turn-in on their person, so that is a severe capability. Oh, Ace tapped the pool of lava from Deathwing, so that revealed him, and that's going to cause a sneaky turn-in to be unviable here.
Yeah. I like what Heavy Slaps is doing. They're just playing very slow. They know they've got the macro advantage. Eventually, someone from CCS are gonna have to back, and then they can either just spoon out the rest of midport, which Akari is working on doing right now. They can work towards their own turn-in. They can take all of the camps on the map. And as long as they don't get caught out, then they're going to be in a great spot. An incredible pull coming out from Mezos. Going to save Protoss Rule there. And Mesos taking a ton of Zagara damage for the attempt.
Deathwing absolutely melted with the Mephisto Mimic plus the percent damage. Lost 2 full armor plates, went to half health almost immediately, but Mezos, oh no! Group up for the Ancestral 2 at least. Was that not Ancestral 2?
That was the Ancestral 2 that we saw, I guess.
Oh no! What a misclick. That is so unfortunate. Mezos, the Diablo, now going to go in at 0 health and die immediately. Lamort in a bunch of trouble and is going to be taken out after the light bomb. Ace with the critical amount of gems is not going to get out of there. Those Roachlings are going to say no to that. And with 3 kills, Heavy Slaps can just walk right in and end this game if they want to.
Yeah, they're gonna take out mid, which I think is an overly
No.
conservative play. Or they're gonna take out bot rather.
Math. Ektar 6 plus 3 is less than 10, and that's what they needed. Um, this is giving CCS a chance in this game.
It is. We see both of the frontliners of Heavy Slaps are on the core, but Zagara's in bot lane, Deathwing's in mid, and Anduin was turning in. A lot of split, and it's still going to be incredibly hard for CCS to make this defense. But that time that was given to them might make it technically possible.
Yeah, I don't think that was a possible defense until Heavy Slaps gave it to him. But nonetheless, still going to be an incredibly tough position, as you mentioned, because 3 Web Weavers will spawn on core. Stoic takes a huge chunk of health, is going to go ahead and Bolt of the Storm back to the Hall of Storms to go ahead and cleanse the dot. And again, core already falling.
Yeah, core already down to a nice percentage and is going to continue falling. There's an engagement onto the back line, specifically onto Protoss Rule, but we need to keep onto the core. We see that De La Soak and Akari have committed to the engage, and so have the Web Weavers, and that's going to be game number 1 to Heavy Slaps.
Solid game. Very back and forth overall. I think it was just a little bit cleaner when it mattered from Heavy Slaps. The poke from the Zagara really mattered a lot. And that's what forced a lot of the health bar positioning there towards the end of the game. So, yeah, of course, just don't misclick forehead is an obvious thing, but there's no, like, that's not an actionable thing to change.
Right. And
so,
frankly, even if the Ancestral lands, I don't even know if that's necessary. That doesn't bring them to a winning position. It just puts them to an even position.
It's even, right.
And it's all then on... Really, I feel like a big part of it is on Lamort to chunk out the front line. Mizos and Ace were doing a really good job of getting into the back line and threatening the Zagara, but the other Mezos was doing a great job pulling them out of danger. So they just weren't quite able in the late game to find those kills.
Yeah, I think, and the kill, there are only 5 of them for CCS there, but they had good engages, but I don't know if they had enough to be able to snowball those into big fight victories. They found a lot of single picks, never really were able to convert those into big team wipes, unlike, I think, 2 big fights from Heavy Slaps.
And to agree. Have not yet been told where we're going for game number 2. Assuming that CCS are going to want first pick again, I think Heavy Slaps definitely take us to Alterac Pass, or not Alterac Pass, Firaxis holdout for game number 2. That's my hope.
What's the data on that? Why are you so confident about this?
2 of their 4 games have been on it, and one of those times they had map pick.
Fair enough.
And they won both of them.
Ooh,
granted, they won most of their games.
Yeah, that is true. They won, what, prior to today, 4 out of 5?
I believe, yeah.
Heavy Slaps, 4-1? Yeah.
4-1 versus 2-2.
Yep. As always, though, big fans of game number 3 here, so hopefully we can get that going here. And hopefully get CCS to have a comeback here.
My hope right now is for CCS to have first pick and win, and then to have map pick and win game 3. That way we're gonna have a really nice color synergy on the between game screen.
Color synergy is, of course, very, very important. Still waiting on that. There it is.
And,
it's French. Can't believe it. All right, so
If
I
I
think
have to
we're
read
all.
French, so do you, Twitch chat.
That's a good one. So what do we have here? We have first pick going to CCS. So Heavy Slaps did pick the map, but they opted for Towers of Doom, the spectators' favorite map. But uh, curious how the teams like the map.
Well, Heavy Slap seems to like the map as they have chosen it, so Process of Elimination probably a map that they feel comfortable on.
Yeah,
They've played it
it's a
once
fair
this season,
assumption.
but that, I mean, we're in, what, week 3? Can't really draw a lot of conclusions based off of 5 games played total for a team.
Yeah, I know they were around last season, but it seems like most of this team is similar, so maybe we could pull some data from that.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna pull up
Yeah, no
last
need.
season's stats of the Storm. They did play the 4-man Deathwing on this map as well,
Seems
alongside
good.
everyone's favorite Plinky ranged assassin,
Jim,
Anduin Garrosh. I said favorite, not second favorite.
Sovala.
Yeah. Jim had his time in the spotlight, and then he got nerfed to hell. And now he is
Fine.
just fine. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm curious what we'll see here going with the darker themes again on the between games, or yeah, between game screen. So, if Heavy Slaps wins, it might still look nice, but obviously rooting for a game number 3 here.
Absolutely. Uh, what other? Do we have another map that fits that aesthetic?
Garden.
Yeah, kinda. It's probably the best one remaining. Cursed, not quite. Too purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garden Matera would be
Unfortunate.
the best one.
Yeah, it's got a very similar background to Tomb of the Spider Queen, so.
Yeah, well. Alright, we've got all of the R's out. Off we go to the land of only NA esports scene left. I don't feel like the grammar was quite right there, but irregardlessly, we're going to Towers of Doom for game number 2, and we're going to get on to the draft right about now. Ace, what is the ban strat on this map? Target
I was
bans
just
or
about
double
to
soakers?
target bans. I mean, you can't get rid of the double soakers unless they have a very specific one that you don't want to see, like a Leoric or I don't know, a Murky, something like that. But otherwise, I think you stick with what you have for the most part. Really try and find a better way in the 4-man on this map.
Alright, so CCS3 have not played this map yet this season in NGS, so literally zero data for me to draw on.
No,
I'm going
no
to
data for Heavy Slaps either.
false. They
As
played it
far
once.
no data for them to use.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume CCS are going to look for Sylvanas and Anubarak and Leoric. That's my guess.
Okay.
They've
Well,
played
we will
Leoric. They've played Leoric twice already, and this is arguably one of his best maps.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Sylvanas is always a safe guess. I wonder if they'd ban that.
I would. I like target bans though more than meta bans, especially right now. Like,
Yeah. I'll take that. Ace had some strong Hogger play last game. Came for the flanks, and when the flanks worked, players died for Heavy Slaps. So I respect that.
yep. And he's a capable double soaker in his own right, so it's not like you're throwing a ban into the dark, even if he wasn't necessarily ban-worthy on Hogger. He was very clearly comfortable on him, and getting players off of their comfort heroes can be a really big deal sometimes, even if they're not the traditional high-power heroes that you expect to see.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Ace is going to go ahead and pick up the Blaze now that Ace, of course, played the Hogger last game, so it does have the... that would imply that your double soaker is Blaze. but obviously you can swap him around in draft, being the most flexible of the tank offlaners, if you will.
I love an early Blaze because it can be whatever you want it to be. Like you said, it can be a tank, it can be an offlaner.
Waiting for Healer Blaze.
And it really doesn't show anything to the opposing team, really.
Yeah. And that doesn't show anything off either, because that is as standard as it gets. Stoic just playing the Sylvanas is just kind of how it goes.
It sort of suggests that they're not going to go into a dive comp, because Rhaegar doesn't do a particularly good job following up on it until they get a bunch of talents.
Bloodlust. Bloodlust is great in a dive.
It is, but then you're waiting to dive until 10? I'm not a fan.
How long is 10? 6 whole minutes? Don't be impatient, Ektar.
Hey, the early game sets you up to win the late game.
Don't lose the early game. You've got Sylv. You can de-push anything.
Yeah, but if you're having to de-push, that means you're already losing.
That could mean that you just tied the sappers or gate soak.
So, the Lyric Band suggests to me even further that the Blaze is in fact an offlane pick. And they're not going to necessarily do some kind of pick another tank and or pick an offlaner later and swap them out. They still could, I just think it's less likely.
This realm needs me.
Yeah, I could agree with that. We've got Dahaka and Liming coming through. Liming is, I would say if you could get a little diversity on Liming as far as builds go, or build is more viable on this map because it does play a little bit more Aramy than a lot of other maps do, because you do just, in a lot of cases, sit in bottom lane and smile and throw damage at each other, but we'll have to see. There's the Anubarak on Mezos and Lamort. I'm going to late pick the Hanzo. Now, we got some data from Hanzo today that I'm interested about. Ektar said Dragon Zero, the giant stun ult,
The far more popular pick.
is not picked nearly as much, like not even close, compared to Dragon Strike. Do we have data on Lamort's Hanzo?
Lamort's Hanzo specifically has played it once.
What ult?
There's the talents button. Dragon's Arrow. But
Wow.
they did win, so they're beating the odds right now.
There you go.
To anyone in Twitch chat that doesn't know exactly what Ace is referencing, currently, this current season of NGS, Hanzo has been played and selected Dragon's Arrow 35 times and has only won 9. So just under a 26% win rate for that talent specifically.
That's what it was. That was
Ace, go ahead
win
and get
rates,
that,
low heroic win rates, not pick rates. I thought they were pick rates.
No, sorry, win rates.
Yeah.
Go ahead and
Okay.
start that prediction if you wouldn't mind. As we
Already
get
is
in
up.
on introducing the teams for the second game, Heavy Slaps spawning on the left-hand side in the blue trunks with Of the Soak playing Johanna. Brightwing doing good things, being played by Mezos. Jaeger is playing the Liming Protoss role, reprising the role as Zagara, and Akari, being supported in the chat by Fujin Akari, is playing the Dahaka.
All right, and on the right side of the map, in the orange trunks, we have my name Doppelganger, Ace on the Blaze, Mezos on Nubrak, Hot Like Summer on Rhaegar, Lamort on the Hanzo, and Stoic on the signature Sylvanas.
Blizzard, those Mad Lads have done it again. They have convinced Jaeger to pick up Aetherwalker.
I love that you keep referencing the obscure dev note on a patch from, I couldn't even tell you how long ago, probably 3 years at this point.
It's my favorite patch note of all time, because it came in 2 successive patches. We're going to want to make you pick Aetherwalker, and then the next patch, when it got buffed again, just, how about now? It's so funny.
Yep. Just for note, that is the Heroes patch notes 20, February 2019. That was the first one that made it do 10. The missiles do 10% extra damage. It says, "We're going to get you to want to pick Aether Walker. Just you wait." And then the only update for her on the 2 month or a month and a half later, remove the mana cost of teleport and says, "How about now?"
And you know what? It's still not the most commonly chosen talent, but you do actually see it getting picked.
That is very true, and I think it's more popular as you go up the ranks as well.
I think you're right. A little bit of a dive coming up onto Mezzos by Mezzos. Isn't going to find Mezzos for anything more than just a little bit of inconsequential damage, although Hot Like Summer taking that full order to the face is a little bit more consequential.
Yep, it's going to take a lot to heal up, and I'll tell you, Hot Like Summer has low mana for it being a sub 2 minute into this game. I'm wondering if there's a little much on the lightning shielding or something going out, because this is it's a lot of mana being burned so far.
Yeah, it would either have to be lightning shields being used on the targets that then don't go into the minion wave, or just, in general, putting down too many totems. Totem,
Yep.
not a cheap ability, and if you're not getting that refund with lightning shield, which can be hard if you're not coordinating with PC, there's just a lightning shield to
Oh,
pop.
it's creep, yeah.
Yeah, to pop just the one creep. And to be fair, they don't have a great creep clearing ability in the 4-man. They have to really commit to it.
Yeah, that's true, but those right there, Lamort and Hot Like Summer, going to go ahead and tap before this objective phase comes up, but I'd like to see them hold that for the phase, but nonetheless, 3 Ultras spawning as they do on the first phase here, so we have the team setting up towards the mid with Blaze fairly close by in case they want to go, but Dahaka will have that rotation priority if they both go top.
Haka's actually threatening to channel on immediately, so could join the 4-man very quickly if they're looking to do that, as both teams are definitely fighting over the bottom. We have Dahaka waddling, actually, not even going to bother using his Z, so he'll have it back available to get into lane after this objective is done. I think that's a really nice play.
Yep, that is very solid. If the need is not urgent, Burrow Charge goes in, but there's not a lot following up on it, and now blue bars of mana getting rather low. Lamort, Hot Like Summer, Mezzos all very low. Mezzos is going to take a bunch, is going to have to Burrow Charge out, but that should signal the end of this fight. There's just not much left for CCS, and it's just not that much to give up this early in the game.
I agree. It's just not that important. Thank you, Gigglesmack, for the follow. Ooh, Storm Stoic taking a lot of damage. They're still fighting over this, and I think over time it's going to even more favor Heavy Slap, so I like that CCS have pretty much just backed out entirely. It's the only map where the objective does nothing to help you get ahead and more winning the game. It gets you closer to winning the game, but it doesn't help you to get ahead in any way.
Mezzos went ahead and dove in, but there's nobody on the screen to follow up. 5-man invade here for Heavy Slaps is going to take the enemy's Sapper camp now. Sylvanas trait obviously very good at taking care of that, but a little bit of an invade is going to spice up this just for a moment.
Yeah, and because he saved his Brush Stalker, Dahaka was able to get up to top lane and not miss a ton of XP that Blaze had to spend the whole time walking around to try to get. Mezzos engaging on a Mezzos once again, but not finding the follow-up, and the DPS were not in a position to follow up anyway.
Right, we do have the Seeker coming out on level 7 for that bonus single target damage. I don't see it very often. Ooh, engagement from Mezzos onto Mezzos, and that's a little bit of damage going out. It's just going to require a little bit of defensive cooldowns to be burned, and that'll be just about it, as Veil is soaked, not opting to go ahead and drop a counter engage.
Speaking of uncommonly seen talents, we've got the Dream Shot coming in from Brightwing, but especially the Sticky Flare. That is a talent you almost never see, given that her other level 7s are so great for defensive utility, whereas Sticky Flare is almost pure offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to hit an engaging team with a flare to slow it down impactfully. It's definitely the most offense-oriented talent, but now we'll just have to see how it is. There's not a lot of looking at the wrong team. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of dive where the other talents could continue to see good value.
Yeah, we see the members of CCS looking to actually try to threaten on here, as there are 2 people in bot lane for them, only 1 person in bot lane for CCS. Brightwing is going to port on up to top lane, but that only is going to bring us to even. We do have the Dragon's Arrow coming in. Level 10 advantage is huge for CCS. The Wailing Arrow is going to find a big stun silencing the backline. Akari is not able to get on out. Leeming is wrapped. And that should almost certainly be channel going over in favor of CCS, if not a kill or more.
Yeah, 2 kills picked up as De La Soca's trying to cover for Jaeger. Jaeger had the port on the way out, and there's no stun follow-up, so not a big deal. That is a good momentum shift for CCS, but they do make the opportunity cost of losing about half of their, maybe 40% of their bottom bell tower, as Zagara just sat down there and free pushed the entire time, as Zagaras tend to do.
One thing that I actually missed that was called up by Twitch chat during that fight, there was an offensive purge to apply the 40% heal cut from the level 7 talent onto the Brightwing Z. That interaction is going to be really rough going forward, as that is by far the biggest contribution to Brightwing's healing on a single target.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very good point out. Similarly, working to the Bionade, that's going to be... And it's much easier to hit. However, you are trading that offensive for defensive utility, but the defensive utility isn't quite as high with this comp compared to the previous comp that the Rhaegar was played in, where it was more of a Nubrak stun blow-up comp.
Yeah, obviously, Purge will be great for getting rid of Bless Shield, but that's like the only button that you care about consistently. And
Drag also, but yeah.
Yeah, but he's often not in the format.
Yeah, that is true.
And often, Rhaegar's going to be stunned out with the Bless Shield anyway, so he can't purge it regardless. So being able to use that offensively is actually very strong, as we have another strong arrow into arrow come out. We have the counter shield come out, but that is not near enough to save the Zagara. Brightwing gives themselves over in the attempt for saving Zag, and things are all coming up Millhouse in favor of CCS.
There you go. Put that on your Ace and Ektar podcast. Bingo card. Ektar has said it this cast. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This double arrow comp with Dragon's Arrow as the engage into Wailing Arrow into a Nubrak is working very, very well for Citrus-Colored Squashes. They're at 4 kills to 0, up a full level, and have their largest margin of the entire set so far.
They sure do. It's really interesting. You almost always think about a Nubrak as a heavy engage tank, but his stuns work just as well as follow-up engage to the even longer range engage capability of Hanzo. And having Arrow be the engage means a Nubrak doesn't have to all or nothing commit nearly as hard as he often has to. If the arrow misses, you just don't burrow charge in. And yeah, it sucks that you missed an ult, but you're not putting yourself at risk for having done it.
Oh my goodness, the arrow lands and it's fairly good. The wrap actually prevented one from getting in. Mezos gonna go ahead and make an aggressive teleport, but the mod does the peeling that's necessary. Hot Like Summer not gonna get the Ancestral done in time. First kill for Heavy Slaps picked up there at a very key juncture, and Ace gonna go ahead and use Bunker to escape in mid.
It does deal damage to shields. I don't think it full pops a
No,
Johanna D.
it's not even close.
Yeah.
It does 40%. Oh, nice.
Speaking of Johanna D, not having it
Wow.
available, and a huge counter Wailing Arrow is going to help secure those 2 kills. Really nicely done from Stoic there, and that is almost certainly going to allow them to push this fort down in time for the next objective.
That was a fantastic opt to go in from Mezos, the Anubarak, because that was a real... Please auto-attack. No, you're making delays. That was a very, very good low-health turnaround of just a short burrow into short stun and then walk away. Even though Anub was somewhat low during that, they were able to make the turn happen and do it unexpectedly, which really led into the arrow very, very well.
Yeah, and now that they're up this level 16 talent, things are going exceptionally well for CCS. They've got a nice anchor here that they can use for further objectives. I think the next one is the 3-channel, so having that position on bottom is very important for them. They'll be able to take both of the camps. They have multiple very good defensive heroes under a fort, so it's going to be very difficult for Heavy Slaps to actually push in and try to work towards this fort recapture.
Wrath was used on the Brightwing there, but nothing happened to come of it. That's just with a little bit of aggression while teammates were away, as Stoic was not in the area. Stoic's going to go ahead, burn the Haunting Wave for stacks. Burrow Charge, not going to find anything. And now it's possible counter-engage time. There's an arrow into arrow, but it seemed a little more panicked than some of their cleaner engages this game. So now, Heavy Slaps with the old advantage. Let's see if they can do something with that. Maybe with a Burrow behind from Dahaka.
We do have Brightwing popping the Z just for healing. Missing out on the Maw is pretty big, and to your comment before, I really think it was just a disengage set of heroic arrows.
Correct.
I don't think they were really trying to counter-engage so much as just disengage.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but they did just come out in a little bit more of a, oh crap, we have to disengage panic kind of fashion. So, definitely not an infallible combo that they've been running all game. They just need to find their legs under them a little bit as this triple alter phase aforementioned comes up.
Yeah, it looks very likely that Heavy Slaps will be able to flip this before taking all 10 possible shots. Are going to take 5? No, actually,
9.
I think they did take 9. Okay.
They took 9, yeah.
So they were able to get it flipped over just in time to avoid one extra shot, as Stoic had to go all the way back, being out of the blue resource. But still, 29-6 is a very comfortable spot to be in at this point.
Yeah, any lead over about 10 shots is really good. And with this, I actually like this play a lot here from Heavy Slaps. Seeing a couple in the bottom lane, they're going to go ahead and take Boss off the board. I think this is a very solid play to minimize their loss conditions.
They are going to trade over a fort for this, very likely, which isn't great. It's obviously really good to have the extra fort to anchor the next objective. Lamort, in a bit of a rough spot, is going to have to Shamata Privilege on out of there, and we do have what's very likely looking to be an engage coming out from Heavy Slaps, trying to recoup some of the damage they just took.
Dahaka's burrowing into the back, so they're definitely committing to this. And Nubarak's giving him the good old runaround, and with everybody turning into a mobile Nubarak, this could be a full 5v5 now. Brightwing is taking a bulk of the damage and was stunned for a good 4 seconds consecutively until her untimely death. 2 in the Maw, now 1 in the Cocoon, both popping out. Ancestral on a Mesos is going to keep him alive through this fight. Bunker damage coming out, but Johanna's going to go ahead and pop the D-Shield and walk away. So, 1 Brightwing pickup here for Citrus-Colored Squash as the objective comes up. Now, if they do the math properly, they can win here if they either push in Sappers or if they go ahead and take mid-fort.
Yeah, and it looks like they are trying to force the Sappers in. They only have 1 channeling right now. It's going to get interrupted by Dahaka, but that's nowhere near as interesting as the team fight that's happening in bottom. Lamort taking a ton of damage, having to contribute from very far back. And now we're going to look at the attempted channel. Akari is going to find Hot Like Summer, but the rest of the team is going to find Akari. Does get hit with the Impale, and they're taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, Akari does get the port from Brightwing in time. Brightwing going to keep him up. There goes the Blessed Shield, actually going for a kill onto the Hanzo. Then Rhaegar taken down as well. Looks like the split from CCS ended up costing them as they got too low on the health bars and never actually converted the bell tower and then lost the fight because Rhaegar was one channeling. So this is the way Heavy Slaps can get back into it. They are by no means out of the woods yet. They still have a long way to go, but the game's not over, which is kind of what I was expecting right after they turned on to Dahaka. Nice counter engage there.
Yeah, I like that they took this fort. I think it would actually have been like super big brain if they just brought it down to like 5% hit points. Because almost certainly CCS are going to be able to get this fort back in time for the next objective and neutralize the value that they got here. It obviously buys them time, and they have Johanna and Brightwing defending. But with the rest of the team coming up, they might not be able to hold this fort, and holding this fort would be huge going into the next objective for them.
Looking at some level 20s, I want to point out the Fairy Protector applying the Pixie Dust to everybody in the area, and of course the Zagara, huge power spike at level 20, and the Contagion, also very, very big. Nice power spike here for Heavy Slaps, so this might be what they need to turn it around.
We also have the Sonic Arrow stun coming out from Lamort, and with as consistently as he's been landing his heroic stun, I wouldn't be surprised to see him combo his own stun into stun, which will allow all of what the rest of the team wants to do to just be even more impactful.
Yep, there goes the engage onto the backline. Triple Maw is going to be pretty massive. The follow-up with the Hush goes for 2 silences, 2 kills. Mezzo's going to get out, Lamort going to get out, but all of a sudden, Heavy Slap showing some life late. They could go ahead with towers up in both lanes. I think they just take what they can get here, grab the 10 shots, but that makes it 12-5, and this is getting very, very close.
It's getting close enough that it's certainly not even, but it's not that far from it at this point. They're getting the sappers in bottom, boss is up in a minute, which they shouldn't realistically try to go for. They want to hold on to this fort as long as they can, and with now Zagara on the defense, that is like one of the scariest defensive heroes in the game at level 20, so really hard for the members of CCS to push into this. CCS are still in a winning position, but honestly just barely.
Yeah, they're in a slightly advantageous position. I would have given them 90+% to win before the 2 bell tower phases ago. Now I give them barely on the coin side of 50%.
Yeah, if this were StarCraft Wings of Liberty terms, they went from being favored to slightly favored.
Oof, I haven't thought about that in years. Sapper's going to go ahead and get taken out by the Sylph Trace, so nice defense there, but it is going to cost Stoic a big proportion of their health, and that's just going to be a back. There's nothing to do, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
Mezzo's having to taking about half of their health as well, just from errant damage from Li Ming and slightly more powerful, but still errant damage coming out from the Rochlings. Protoss Rule is going to complete that quest, giving them an additional Roachling, and that equals out to an additional 1.75% damage and 20% damage from anything that gets hit by the Hunter Killer. Heavy Slaps are going to take the boss off the map, which is going to get it all the way down to much closer to even, but they're giving up some position in bot lane to do it.
It's a lot of position in bot lane that they're giving up. Protoss Rule is going to be covered by Akari, but now they've got to fight into this aggressive comp. Now Mezzos is going to go ahead and burn the Burrow charging and the Impale a little bit early. We'll have to see what the Blessed Shield from De La Soak can do. It looks like the position has been reclaimed by Heavy Slaps, but could add a lot stronger one, I think.
They have, but they actually have some really powerful, uncommon abilities. We have the Hush getting the guaranteed silence off of the tongue. Mezzos is going to get healed for a ton, and only heading out onto one, and he already got his most important button out. De La Soak is very low, but is going to get a nice heal from Brightwing, and still no one going down.
No, but Mezzos is very low. Huge jet prop, gonna go for 4. Ace with the nice play there. I hear a Seeker Missiles going off, but now position advantage is to CCS. They're not going to be able to get the channel, though. They've got to fight this one out. They're not going to be able to just poke it out. Now, this isn't game for either side. CCS needs to be aware of this, and they should be able to go ahead and back up. Ace not getting the memo, though, and is taken out, and now this all of a sudden turns into a terrible situation for them. And any fans of game number 3, now Heavy Slaps taking the lead in tower shots and on heroes on the board right now.
Brightwing is chasing down Hanzo with successive slows and silences, and that was a Brightwing empowered kill onto Hanzo, not something you see particularly often. That is going to be the keep getting flipped over in favor of Heavy Slaps, and for all of the advantages that CCS have, it has begun to fall through their fingers, and now we're definitely heavy advantageous for Heavy Slaps.
Yep, boss though, not on the board. So I think we've flipped to slightly favored for blue here.
I don't know. I think I might go favored at this point, just because of how long it's been since CCS have had a win.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe it's just the 20 power spikes coming in. I mean, we do have Radiating Faith and very, very powerful 20s here. Are they going to 6 cap this? players are not coming up for at least a couple more seconds.
Yeah, I don't think there's
And-
anything CCS can do to stop it other than try to get bottom back as soon as they can, and that will not be quick enough to stop at least one shot from going in, I have to believe.
No, that is very true. Here comes a little bit of engage onto Akari. Actually, this is a huge web wrap. That's a great play there. They're going to go ahead. Oh, no. They goofed the stuns just a little bit. Here comes the port from right wing to go ahead and save. That is a huge missed opportunity there for CCS not having the CC available to follow up on that cocoon. That was so well planned, though.
Yeah, but now that CCS have to respond in top lane, that one Sapper camp is lethal. They're not responding to it. They need to make this teamfight happen fast enough to get someone back into top lane, or they're just gonna lose.
They've got about 5 seconds. Lamort's going to do it, but there are 3 people in this mall right now.
And that's
the
Sappers.
contagion does miss. Sappers go in, and that will give us an unsatisfying finish to the team fight, but a very satisfying finish for heavy slaps.
Was that cocoon on the arrow target? Second time they do this.
There were a couple cocoons that landed onto somebody that would have been hit by the dragon's arrow. One time it meant that the stun didn't go off, which is unfortunate, but does happen that way sometimes. But again, close game there. That was a very good game too.
It was, and just goes to show why spectators love that map, because it is, as Bahamut likes to say, the map with the most comeback potential. The way I say it is it's the most comebackable map, because I like to make words up.
I like that. I like the word comebackable. Adding suffixes to words all the time is just a good way to make new words. All right, Ektar working on getting the interview set up with the heavy slaps.
Yeah, I sent a message to their captain to see if they wanted an interview, and got responded with, "The player you are trying to whisper is not currently accepting
yep.
messages from players who are not on their friends list."
Yep, that's a DLS special. Could just go ahead and message someone else.
I DM'd him over Discord.
There you go. All
That's
right,
the
pop
screen.
into lobby 2 it is.
Yeah, you can drag me over there.
Oh, okay.
All
The
right.
drag was just out of reach my Discord window size.
Clearly not a Dahaka man.
Yeah, true. Could have taken elongated time, but that's about it. So,
Hiyo.
Hello.
and now you're the one talking about bringing teammates in. I can't believe it.
I gotta represent.
David is a free agent, clearly not associated
That
with
is
the team
not
at all.
correct. I feel like I tried to change that once, so just nobody didn't bother. It doesn't matter. I am protest rule. Hello.
You've walked into the wrong Zerg base.
Irregardless,
Oh yeah, because you guys have Zergling pictures.
we do in fact. We definitely 2 Zerglings from the same egg.
Yeah, that's how it
They
works.
grow up so
Exactly too.
fast.
But regardless, congratulations on your 2-0 victory.
Thank you. They were very fun.
Thank you.
They were quite fun to watch as well, especially that game number 2, but we'll get into that in chronological order, as first we get to talk about Tomb of the Spider Queen, one of my favorite maps. And I don't have any questions to ask. My brain isn't functioning. Ace, do you have anything else about game number 1?
Y'all had a thick comp. You had the Anu Blaze Deathwing, also trying to say this to prompt Ektar's memory of the game that occurred. Deathwing, definitely a 4-man Mage Wing style. Blaze sitting in off lane. And then you ran with the Zagara. What's a plan for that comp? It seemed very front to back with the Anub Zagara Deathwing, but
We
didn't
get to
always do that.
16, kill them all, and before that we get into their buildings.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
That's just it.
get 16
Creep
for
also
him.
gets yeah. Creep gives a lot of vision of the turn-ins and such too, which is essentially map hacks on a map that small.
We managed to use the CC to get a couple punishing volleys of breath and stuns off on our folks at Citrus Colored, but their Dibbles was pretty on point with their shield. I think maybe we got him once early game pre-16 before things started coming online with some good stuns. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wombo combo. The power of 4-man melee whenever you need it.
So I might be a bit biased here, given last season, but it really feels like Zagara has become kind of a Div B specialty in the last season or so. So I really like seeing you pick her in both games, and really, you could see about that level 16, the game starts to really flip into your favor.
Well, they kept banning my
The first
Bella,
game was
so-
pretty in your favor, but game number 2 is where it flipped.
Yeah. They first banned my Bala both games, so I had to give them something else to ban in future games.
The poke helps too on towers. The only dicey thing in the draft being that like towers you can snowball pretty easy. And
Yeah,
we almost
Towers
did
was
get,
a little bit sketchy at one point, but we
yeah,
pulled it
yeah.
through.
I was inting a little much, despite being Joe, not thick enough, I guess. So I was a little worried that we were going to get snowballed even further until we could get our power spike online with the Zag. But I got a good team, and they made me look good by being better than me, murdering everybody.
So speaking of that game number 2, were you expecting the kind of double heroic arrow style coming out from them, even drafting those heroes like that?
The
I
first
know-
time was
Go
a
ahead.
bit of a surprise. Afterwards, we kind of saw it coming more, even though it was kind of obvious.
Even seeing it though, it found success pretty dang almost like the first 3 or 4 times that they tried it, it found what I would consider success.
Yeah, once we worked a bit more on our positioning and like just poking out slowly but surely, and like just got a bit more momentum back in bottom lane, things went smooth again. That
Yeah.
one fight that was like the game for us was where it all fell into place, I feel.
Yeah, once you guys won a team fight in bottom lane, after that, you kind of just never lost momentum again. I feel there may be a couple of missteps from the other team, but your team's own individual play was really strong at that point. There were a lot of good team synergies overall, but also a lot of really cool individual things. Zagara consistently poking out everyone in the enemy team.
Just throw
At-
babies.
At one point, Mezos was chasing down Hanzo as Brightwing, and Hanzo couldn't get away between the sticky flare and Hush. Using Hush as
Joe to finish was really funny.
using the Hush as follow up to Devouring Maw, so that they couldn't do anything, was crazy. And then Radiating Faith is just one of the most cracked level 20s that I don't think everyone necessarily fully appreciates.
Oh, it slaps, that's for sure. I didn't even notice the hush until
Heavily.
the match finished and our Mezos, not the other team's Mezos, said that he silenced the Hanzo twice because I thought he was gonna get away. I thought he was for sure just gonna agility over a wall and he was just baiting me away from the rest of his team. But sure enough, I needed to trust in our Mezos.
Yeah, the Hush after Devouring Maw pretty much secured 2 kills because they couldn't push any defensive buttons to save themselves at that point. It
It
was...
is easier to kill people without buttons.
It's true. At one point, Jim Raynor was just about as easy to kill with or without buttons, but now that his E is an actual button, it's not the case.
True.
So, how's your season been? I think you're 6 wins, 1 loss now?
Yeah.
Sounds true. Yeah.
Feels pretty good. It's been a lot of hard work, and despite our record looking so positive, there have been some real nail biters.
Yeah.
This series and last in particular.
Most
But,
of the time, the games are even back and forth, which, in my opinion, is a lot more fun. So,
Yeah, 100%. Want to have some healthy competition, and all the teams have been pretty wholesome so far. So it's, even though the game had that cancellation announcement that we all kind of knew was the state of the game anyways. It's good to
Us
have
is
a
dead, number
nice
2.
Yeah, it's nice to have another season of NGS with with so many like cool people to play with. It never feels like adversarial. Kind of feels, and most of the time the teams we're facing are people we've scrimmed already throughout the summer and had a good time with.
You,
So with that kind of community basis in mind, which team are you most looking forward to playing in the coming weeks?
Oh geez, hard to pick. I know Two Heroes One Fountain has some uh, people I've known for a little while throughout Div B and I think C, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like every single season we play NGS, we face House of Ches, no matter what div we're in, and they're always really strong. So really excited for that one personally.
Man, one final question that I'm stealing from our new head caster. Where'd your team name come from?
A long time ago, I was friends with a guy. We used to play games online, and every time we would win real hard, we'd yell about heavy slaps. And when our team was starting ages ago, from the ashes of several other teams and former members from other teams, we just did a little quick poll, and heavy slaps took. And it kind of makes memes and gifs all on its own, especially with some of the team fights we're known to have.
Very cool. Love hearing the sort of NGS history. We do have NGS's resident historian on the mic here as well.
Oh, hello there.
Well, both you hosers have been around for a while, though, eh?
Oh my
sure.
god! What? How did you
That's
become
not-
so Canadian so fast?
It was French Canadian all along.
Just,
I mean-
just horrible French.
I suppose you're right. There was the French. Don't worry, all of Twitch chat got to see your French introduction earlier.
That was horrible. I hope Armezos doesn't see that. He actually is French.
But I think that's everything that I've got. Ace, do you have any other questions for our esteemed guests?
No, I think that's all for me. Covered all of it. So, yeah, just nice job on the win today. I thought that was a nice comeback there on towers.
thank you.
Thank you,
It was a
thank
lot of fun.
Yes,
We weren't
for the
rooting
cast.
for you, though. Sorry. We were rooting for game 3, as we always do.
always root
Oh,
for
yeah.
Game 3. Like, I'm pretty sure it's in the caster bylaws. You have to root for Game 3.
Absolutely. Game 3, Game 5. More games.
All right, so then we're going to give it on back to you guys for any shoutouts that you want to give.
Protoss, you got any?
Just to our wonderful team. Love playing with everyone.
Heck yeah. Shout outs to my team. Shout outs to our coaches. Shout outs to Crazy, who's also on the team, who's watching on vacation right now. Shout outs to our sponsor, Whipple Energy Drink, the only energy drink made with 100% TNT, now coming in mackerel, mango, and teamfight tangerine flavors. Drink Whipple. And yeah, that's all I got.
Well rehearsed.
I mean, it better be. All right, well, thank you guys for coming by, and, Protoss, continue playing Zerg Heroes, and we'll be okay.
Yeah, gotta keep them on their toes.
Race
All right.
swap
Name will
mod.
fool 'em.
Oh, race swap mod. Anywho, you guys have a good rest of your evening, and